What's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Garuji Chastity. And today I want to talk about practicing straightforward honesty with self. More specifically, right? As I got lost in the sauce and translation for a minute. More specifically, what I want to share is like how that showed up in my life and how it's helped. Because believe it or not, I feel like I was lying to myself more than I was being truthful and honest about how I felt and what I wanted. But it wasn't like intentional. And so, in realizing the gap that I needed to close with like suppressing how I felt and being honest with myself, learning to close that gap is what I wanted to share here today, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. So, practicing straightforward honesty with self. I mean, it's very simple, right? But I don't feel like I knew I was lying to myself. We learned in yoga teacher training, they had us do something wild, which I do with my students all the time, or just people I work with, and you can try this at home as well. Write down something you're going through right now, right? Write it out on a sheet of paper. It could be 2 to 3 paragraphs. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going, write down a challenge, an obstacle, or worry, right? Write it down and talk about it. Talk about how it makes you feel. Talk about what's happening. Just talk about it. Get it out. Brain dump it, right? Then go back and read it and circle everything that's a fact, like, right? And we know the difference between a fact, like it's provable, it got evidence, versus an opinion is something which is how you feel about it. And in mine, what I began to discover, I did have 2 to 3 paragraphs about whatever challenge I was going through at the time. This was last year. 28? No, it was 2019. I only had like 2 or 3 facts in that mug. Everything else was just how I felt about it. And if there were things in there that I circled, when I said it out loud, the teachers was like, no ma'am. That's a fact. That's your opinion. That's how you feel. That could be changed. And so it really made me reflect like, yo, when I tell myself stuff, it's like, here's the actual story, but everything else is just like fluff about how you felt about it. And we all know that feelings are objective, right? They're objective, which means like you could put anything behind that, bro. That's based on the time, the place, the environment. Like it's based on so much. Versus, the truth of the matter is subjective. It's very specific. It has to do with something in particular. And so once I began to realize like a lot of my reality and what I told myself about myself was more so a lie, a projection, an emotional based idea. Once I began to tell myself that, it helped me to get a better grasp on reality, which I feel like is hard in itself to get a grasp on because it's wild out here. You know what I'm saying? And so, that's one of the initial ways that it truly began to show up for me, right? Other ways, it's just like, I feel like, at least I used to think, that I had super keen awareness of myself. Of like, yo, I can always speak on how I feel because I'm always in the present moment. But I realized a lot of times I was speaking from a projected based place, which I'm fluffing up with projection, and let me just quit and say a judgment place based, because when you're judgment free, like my homeboy Rashad said, what you tell yourself is this ain't that, right? When you're judgment free, trauma free, when you overcame something in your current state of being, when you're in the present moment, you have the ability to say, nah, this ain't that. But if you're coming from fear-based, or you're living out a trauma from your past that you haven't really healed from, what you begin to see in your present reality is, this could be that. Or what you doing, like, you're looking funny. Let me question you because this could be that, right? You begin to project your idea of a past situation or a past outcome onto what's happening right now. And so that's what I would do a lot of times because I wasn't being honest about how I felt in the moment. And so it's easier to project than it is to be honest and accountable for your own feelings and responsible for your own feelings. That's a task. What are you saying? If you weren't taught to take accountability for your feelings, you probably struggle with it as an adult. And if you don't acknowledge that you struggle with that as an adult, it's gonna take you longer to fucking figure it out of how to fix it. And that's the ugly part. And so it's just like, accept it. I know it was a challenge for me. Shoot, I was not taught emotional balance. I don't know how nobody in my family handled their emotions. Like, what you do when you go home and you been riled up, or you get in an argument with somebody at work. Like, I don't know how these people handle situations, and I grew up with them. So it's like, I had to learn going out into the world, like, pretty much what women didn't like. I never really dabbled too much into how things affected men, but you get a lot of feedback from women, right? You don't get... Women, I feel like, are subjective and objective. They give you both sides of it. Whereas I can perceive that men can only be subjective. And deep down, I am both energies. I'm very sensitive, but I'm very action-oriented like a dude, and very detached, right? At the same time. And so it's like, growing up, I would exude certain behaviors, like, boom, my first relationship with a woman. Okay, it's like, this is very interesting telling this, or just realizing this right off the bat. First relationship, when I was challenged to express my emotions when things would go down, I would just get quiet. Like, it's honestly kind of like uncomfortable to even think back in my mind's eye when I can be in moments and see myself. I would get really quiet, and I would get very, very, very passive aggressive. It took me like 2 more different people interactions to really get out of passive aggressiveness. And truly, I maybe got out of passive aggressive behavior just off of trial and error from ages. It took me from 18 to damn near 25, 24, I want to say. Like, it took me that long because here's the thing. This is what I naively thought here recently. I was like, yo, I was so naive to think that I would get in relationships and I would find common ground with somebody because we would maybe been through the same thing, or, you know, we had the same hardship, and so it would bring us closer together, and then we would figure out, you know, a way that worked for us and how to maneuver from there and create this whole new world. But the key, whoop-de-doo, right? That's when we live up here, when we live in that airy world, when we're ungrounded, and you bring that shit down to reality, and you start adding real life people, when it's like, no, it don't work like that. And so when I brung that down to reality, I realized, like, oh, wait, I mean, that is cool that we can meet each other on common ground, but shit, you don't know what I don't know. And so how you gonna help me help you, help me help you? And it's like, you really can't. You can't. And so that's where, like, arguments and tensions come from, or like living out cycles and habitual patterns in relationships. It's just like, yo, a lot of times we got into those relationships when we were really young. Like that first relationship that I was in, I knew that I've known that person for like 10 years, yo. Like, we spent 10 years of time together learning and growing. Like, yo. And that was 10 years for me without strict parental supervision of how to manage my emotions. So, I mean, within that time period, if something happened between me and my parents, right, and we didn't get along, we just didn't talk for a little bit, and when we talked, everybody acted normal. That don't work when you live with another person. Y'all don't do that at all. And so if that's how you've been practicing, for me, that's how I have been practicing communication of emotions and shit with people. That did not work when I started wanting to be cuddled up with a woman. No, they do not go for that. They not settling for that. And you gonna have to rise to your highest potential. So over time, I just learned how to communicate and what dynamics people did and didn't like, and what I did and didn't like, right? And so what I'm realizing now is that through that learning, there wasn't always a natural motherly authoritative figure that would steer me to staying true to who I was. As I learned to grow, I would just take bits and pieces of what worked for me and then attach it to the ego, my facade, the front of my building, right? The mask that I would wear. But as I'm getting older, right, it's like, yo, I want purpose. I want I wanna show up in people's lives for a specific reason, right? And have a reason to be there and have something to offer. I want to be able to spend time with myself without self-loathing, without feeling worthless, right? And it was like, yo, how do I do that if all of this time I've just been working on things that seemed to allow me to fit into culture, allow me to be accepted in whatever space that I was trying to fit in. And it became a real challenge as I get older. Right now in this present moment, 28 right now. I'll be 29 in 2021. And so with that solar return coming up, knowing that life is going to shift, it's just like I've really honed in during these last couple of months of like, yo, I can't, I'm tired of holding up facades. Like, I understand that they have a purpose, just like culture, right? Culture splits us. It teaches us about good and bad and what's acceptable and what's not. And so in learning that, I have to learn how to be whole again. And learning how to be whole means I have to be honest with myself, that there were parts of myself that are highlighted, and there are parts of myself that are cast off into the shadow, and I have to be well with all, and I have to accept all. But that really came to a point where in the last couple of months, it was just like, who am I? What am I doing? What is this? It was a big challenge to show up as my own individual person in my family dynamics. But that's a part, for me, of my astrological chart. I know my Chiron, don't give me the line, y'all, but I know it's about, my past life was all about family, and then in this life I'm learning to be an individual, right? Hopefully I can get that in the credits. Asa can help with that. But yeah, so bringing it back home, making it all make sense, right? Getting older and realizing that, yo, I want to have a purpose and a mission. But when you begin to work with other people who you want to help me, like, yo, I started to work with a copywriter. And a copywriter writes the wording for marketing. So like your captions, the landing pages. Brother Craig wrote all of this for me. But to get him to write this, he was asking me questions that I had to really sit down and ask, like, yo, right? What is this? And so it was like he was asking me questions about my purpose, and it was just kind of just things, the thoughts was this, just in my head, and just sitting with that and getting honest with myself about like who I actually have helped before. What have I actually practiced in this stuff that I'm trying to offer? Am I actually offering the right thing at the right time? That was a big thing. Yo, I was trying to offer level 1 attunement programs. And I don't even think I've really spoken about this on any of my videos, but I was trying to offer level 1 attunement programs right now in this day and time. And what I realized is that, like, yo, it's cool. Like, I got a book and everything, over 100 pages. The book is a stick. It could be a weapon. I'll beat you with it type vibe. But it's like, yo, real shit. My own Reiki master. Like, I don't know what she was doing when she was 28, but I know that she's in her 30s and she's doing level 1 attunements. She at least has 5 years of experience on me, and it's like, why are you trying to move this fast? Like, I get that you want to help. I get that you want to be impactful. I get that you have all of these things to share, but like, I had to be honest with myself. It's like, yo, sis, you don't even have the experience to back this up. Like real life, I asked Brother Craig, like I texted him one day, and I was just like, yo, honestly, am I even doing the right thing by trying to even offer this? But I don't even have no evidence to prove that I can even help. I can even do what I'm saying, right? Or that I can transform somebody's life, like I'm saying, because I'm literally in the work of transforming mine. And so, being that honest allowed me to down that ambition, because it'd be heavy out here on us. Between, in my household, I was taught either you went to work or you went to school. And if you wasn't working towards or doing any of those or active in any of those, like, you was a bum, pretty much. And so it's like, there's been so much pressure. And then when you decide to switch over and say, you know what, I'm going to go a more mystical route, a more eccentric route, there's still pressure with everybody wanting to know. Even I ask my other peers, what you do for money? Like, what do you do on a regular everyday basis? Like, how you bring in income? right? And some of us figure it out, but most of us, like a lot of my peers, like I end up hearing stuff that I don't want to say, or I mean, not say, but I don't want to hear because I know that I can't do it. I ain't gonna break my back to do that shit. So it's like, why even ask? Because it's not like you finna do that work. Like, it's hard for me to get up. I'm not finna lie to y'all. Shit, nobody finna get up and get on job. And if I do, it really got to be something I want to do. The only 2 jobs I've had in the last 6 years, I sold popsicles and I worked at a Kibalon, right? I got unlimited popsicles and it was natural. It was delicious. And then I Kibalon, man, they paid me to learn. I was in there reading books. What? Right? So if I do work, it has to be things like that. I can't just get up and get a regular job. And so asking my peers like what you do for money and say they working at factories and different things like that, it's just like, oh God. It just breaks my soul to think to do stuff like that. Right? And so I had to get honest with myself and just be like, yo, you're still in the transition of figuring out how to make this make sense for you. And with all the pressure that we have from the world, that's why I said all of that, with all the pressure of get a job, make some money, create something, do this, do that, be an entrepreneur, all of that stuff. With all of that pressure, it got you out here thinking that you finna be, you the leader of a school and you are tuning people. Like, bruh, hold on. Help some people move some obstacles first. And then you can see if you can help them paint a whole new picture. But for right now, all you can do is help them pick up rocks and move shit like you doing. But calm down. I was moving fast because it's just like make, create something, more. And it's like I had to get honest with myself. Yes, I like being ambitious and I like to work, but at the end of the day, that's tiring. Point blank, period. It's tiring. And then it's even more frustrating and a letdown when you feel like you're moving that fast and it's not happening out here. And that's because it don't match what's in here. Your heart is tired. And you need some nurturing and some watering of yourself to even make that work outside manifest. And that's what I learned by being honest with myself. Just realizations like that. But you have to be willing to ask yourself the uncomfortable questions. Uncomfortable questions like, what is an emotional obstacle that I'm facing right now? Right? This is a question that Brother Craig allowed me to use to really get me. What is an emotional obstacle I'm facing right now? Right? And I really wrote it out. I think maybe like 5 sentences. I talk a lot, as we know. That's why I do this work. So I get the opportunity to talk. But on paper and communicating with others, I don't like to do that. So I like to be very precise. Cut the fluff out. Let me tell you what I need, Craig. So I told Brother Craig what I needed in about 3 to 5 sentences. I want to say 5. Right? And then the next one he said, condense that down to 1 sentence. Condense that emotional obstacle down to 1 sentence, right? Take it from that paragraph down to that 1 sentence. So take them lies out and get down to it. What's really going on? And then he said, take that and take that down to 1 word. What's the challenge? What's the challenge? What is the one emotional obstacle that's the challenge? I'm not going to share mine. That's just a little exercise for y'all. Definitely try that at home. If you just want to get deep and get curious about how to ask yourself stuff. I use different mediums as well. The Pattern the other day asked me a question and said, can you entertain it? Paraphrasing, something like this. Can you entertain conversations without the need to be right? And I thought about it and I said, well, no. Shit. What is we talking for? That's my problem right there. Right? Either I was talking to, I rarely talk or share for a spontaneous share, right? It was never that. It was either because I'm trying to share information, I feel like I can help somebody, or I'm trying to be an authority figure, or I'm trying to look good, right? But what happened to like just sharing your feelings because that's how you felt and you wanted to share? Like, what happened to that? And so when I said no, I had to investigate that. And I said, well, why, Justin? What is that? right? And I had to get deeper and deeper and honest with myself. And I feel like that's a little transparent enough before we get too deep into that. But again, you can use different mediums to ask yourself questions, but ask it honestly, right? I personally like to take myself to the extremes. Let me know what's up, right? Because at this point, through my learning, I try not to put stuff in good or bad. Just what's the paradox, right? Let me explore. Let me find the highs and the lows, not the goods and the bads, right? Because if all of this exists within me, I can't say or separate myself into good or bad anymore. I've done that and I've seen what it's gotten me, and it's nothing but brokenness, right? And I want to figure out how to be whole. I want to figure out how to bring coherence into my life. And in order to bring coherence, I gotta try. I gotta see what it's like to do dumb shit and then to say, nah, I don't like that. In which that's literally happened. I've made a conclusion of like, yo, what is it? Jumping to assumptions. Did this for a second, and I said, "Yo, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm just gonna wait." And in doing that, I don't know what I was gonna say. So fuck it. That video over, family. It's like when I get the download, that's the download, and that's it, right? I'm taking it too far. I hope y'all got it. I hope y'all have gotten it thus far and can share it. But Spirit has cut me off, and so I've been moving and grooving today. I'm gonna stop recording here, and I'm gonna take my own advice. I'm gonna go do something for me. I'm gonna practice my balance of being and doing, and practice radical honesty with myself, and tell myself, yo, you've been working all day. You did a good job, cuz. Look, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, cuz. You did a good job. Alright, family. Look, be in the work of practicing honesty with yourself. Straightforward honesty. Just do it, family. Just be in the work. Practice that straightforward honesty. Do it with yourself first, and then you have the capacity to do it for others. So, family, until next time, I love you. Peace out.